Okay, I'm here to talk about volleyball. Volleyball has been a huge part of my life since I was in third grade. One of my favorite sports by far, my favorite that I could play in school because I also play kickball, but it's not a school sport. I've been on varsity since sophomore year. We had the same coach for 3 years, Coach Richards. She'd been there for nearly 30 years, and she was my coach for the first 2 years I was on varsity. Each year was a different experience. Sophomore year, um, I enjoyed, I enjoyed thoroughly all three of them because I got a lot of playing time, and that was extremely important to me, and I got to play the position that I wanted. I'm a libero, so what that means is I am the leader of the defense. I wear a different colored jersey, and I can go in and out for anybody defensively in the back row, in the back three people, whenever's needed. Usually I go in for the tall middle blockers because a lot of times people that tall are not able to get down to the floor as easily. So that's basically my job. I've been the libero all 3 years. Um, Sophomore year was all right. It was hard being the youngest, definitely. I have a lot of good memories. I really liked the seniors, but it was difficult because there was definitely a divide in the team that year. You could definitely see that there was an age difference, and that really took a toll on unifying the team and bonding and stuff like that. So things got better junior year for sure. The leaders of the team were some of my best friends. Emily Hayes was an amazing volleyball player. She was our captain that year and lead setter. Some great memories with Emily Hayes. One time when we were at a tournament, um, we do random things to warm up. In volleyball, there is a lot of sitting around, and so you get very cold. So you have to come up with creative ways to get warm because running back and forth gets really old. So we play certain games where we like chant things, and you have to dance and all kinds of stuff. There's many different versions. So we're doing one of those games one time, and we're just like in a corner of the Delco Center, and this girl comes up, and we'd been laughing and messing around because like that was the characteristic of our team that year. We were very close friends, and we were just goofy. We would have fun with each other all the time. There was never a dull moment. So this girl comes up to Emily, and while she's dancing and doing her part in the game, and just pushes her. And then we all start cracking up because we don't have no idea what's going on, who this girl is, and it's just so funny. And then she pushes her again, and Emily falls into a trash can that's behind her, like up against the wall, and she literally falls into it, and the little girl runs off. We have no idea what's going on, but we're all dying laughing hysterically, and it's by far one of the best memories that I've ever had in volleyball because it was one of the funniest moments of my life. That year, we struggled a bit. We did make it to playoffs. Moving up to to a 5A district, was okay for some of Anderson sports, and they've done better, definitely. But volleyball struggled a little bit because there's a big difference between 4A and 5A in volleyball, and it's like that for all sports. I totally agree, but it really made us struggle a bit, and I entered Anderson the year that we switched to 5A, so I never got to experience 4A, but I have a sister that was just as intense in volleyball as I was, and so I got to witness like the two and it basically completely different sides of both districts. I've played club volleyball in my life. That took up a lot of hours and such. It was, every weekend plus 3 times a week after school for 3 hours nearly, and you include even more when you have to include traffic and driving all the way across town to get there. Like I said, tournaments every weekend nearly in Dallas, Houston, San Antonio. Sometimes, Spokane, Washington, I went all over the place. And so I quit that junior year when IB started because it would have been impossible. I would have just run myself ragged had I done that and IB at the same time, and IB was more important to me. And so that was a big part of my life that stopped. And so I really feel like junior year, I put a lot more of myself and my commitment into school volleyball, because since club had always been more intense, and that's where, recruiting happened and stuff, and that's where you really learned your skills. I took that probably more seriously than I did school volleyball, and so when I quit that changed junior year. So last year I was literally became so committed. It was my number one priority, and I think that had a lot to do with my experience. We had games twice a week, Tuesday, Friday, usually last hour and a half to 2 hours because we play 3 out of 5 games at the varsity level. Coach Richards, one of the best coaches that I've had, because she truly cared about each player. I mean, I really feel like there's 2 different kinds of coaches. The coach that rides you really hard, teaches you stuff, but is not personable at all, and you just, you hate them, but you love them because they get the job done, but not always in the best or nicest manner. And I've experienced that multiple times. Then Coach Richards was the other end of the spectrum. She cared about you as a person and as an individual and as a part of the team. She wasn't quite as concerned with skill-wise or specifics of the game. She was concerned with team unity and working together and persevering and just kind of those life lesson type things. The things that you're going to need to know later. You don't necessarily need to know, how to pass a ball off of a cross shot. You don't need to know, the specific tendencies of another player and stress out about them before a game. What you need to stress out about before a game is making sure that your team is together and, has their head in it, and that you can work and persevere and be ultimately committed to the team. And I feel like, she may not necessarily have the most success coaching in this manner, but I learned the most as an individual from her, which I think was probably more important than anything else I would have learned, which I thought was really, really cool. We got a new coach senior year. That was a shock and a huge change, to say the least. Don't get me wrong, I absolutely loved Coach Aldridge. That was her name. She's very young. She's 26 years old. Coach Richards was like 50 something. That was a big change. She has a fire in her, no doubt. And that it was just a complete, makeover, I guess, on our volleyball program. I really enjoyed being one of her players because she really understood and enforced the idea of being a leader. If you weren't stepping up and doing what you needed to do to get the job done, she was going to single you out and make sure that you knew that you were not doing what you were capable of doing. And yes, that was frustrating. It drove me crazy sometimes. It would make me so angry that she wouldn't see something I was doing and then blame me for doing something else, blah, blah, blah. But honestly, she drove me to be the best leader that I could possibly be. I was captain this past year, senior year, and she chose me to be the captain, which I thought was really cool. We had she also was different than Coach Richards because she put freshmen on the team. That was something Coach Richards wasn't really known for doing. She would barely even put sophomores on the team. And so that was a big deal, and it was definitely another challenge for the captains of the team. There was one other captain who's a senior. She's one of my best friends, but on the court, she was difficult to deal with. She really would make the younger girls feel bad about making mistakes, and it would really get into their heads because she would, more than being a leader, she would pull the seniority card. So then I had to find a way to really help those individuals and make them know that they're part of the team and that they're, some of them were better than some of the seniors. So that was my biggest challenge in volleyball, I think, was trying to be the person who is still a leader and who could be the person they could come to if they had a problem, and not be too hard on them but not be too soft, and not go behind the other captain's back or anything like that. I had to be like the mediator kind of. And I really enjoyed this role because I liked the idea that they looked up to me and I heard it from parents, and that was a great experience for me. But it was definitely difficult. But in the end, it all worked out because we made it to playoffs for the first time since 2002, very long time. And so through all the hardships that Coach Aldridge, who was a new coach, and she was just, new at everything, new to the whole system that we had been used to, and having new players, young players on the team, I really feel like it was the best leadership role that I've ever fulfilled in my life, and one of the greatest experiences that I've ever had. And I'm so glad that I was able to impact those people's lives and help them, and keep them in the game at times when they wanted to quit. And that was really important and one of the greatest experiences of my life. And so that is why I'm reflecting on this via video, because there's just so much to say because it's such a huge part of my life. And I would like to thank everybody who helped me get through and all these years, and it's been wonderful. Bye.